Is the lack of evidence the same as evidence of non-existence? Hello and welcome to our video series on the existence of God, where we explore questions and topics related to God's existence and also analyze arguments for and against the existence of God. Some atheists argue that atheism, the belief that God does not exist, is the default position. They claim that unless there is evidence for something, we should assume it doesn't exist. According to this view, atheists don't need to provide evidence for their belief. Instead, the burden of proof lies entirely with the theist, who claims that God does exist. This reasoning has two key flaws. The principle that says absence of evidence is not evidence of absence matters here. Failing to find evidence that someone committed a crime doesn't prove their innocence. In other words, not finding evidence doesn't automatically mean something isn't real. For example, if someone says there's a mosquito in the room and we don't see or hear it, that doesn't mean it is not there. It could simply be hidden or unnoticed. But if someone claims there's an elephant in the room and we see no sign of it, that's strong evidence that it's not there. So, what's the difference between the mosquito and the elephant? It comes down to two conditions under which the absence of evidence can be taken as evidence of absence. Firstly, thorough search. If you haven't searched the room at all or only checked it briefly, you can't conclude there's no elephant. We must have fully examined where the evidence should be. Without careful investigation, we can't conclude non-existence at all. In the case of God, that means seriously engaging with philosophical and theological arguments before dismissing the evidence for God. Secondly, reasonable expectation of evidence. If the thing existed, we should expect more or clearer signs than we actually have. We might miss a mosquito, but we wouldn't miss an elephant. Now, when applying this to God's existence, ask yourselves the following question. Should we expect more evidence than we currently have if God exists? Consider the evidence for God that we discussed in this video series from episode 2 to 6. The argument for God's existence from the origin of the universe, from the fine-tuning of the universe for life, from morality, from contingency, from mathematics, so on and so forth. Ask yourself, is it obvious that there should be more evidence than this? That's far from obvious, is it not? The atheist seems to be assuming they know what kind of evidence God would provide if He existed, which then brings us back to evaluating the arguments for God's existence. How compelling are they? Therefore, in the case of theism, these conditions doesn't clearly hold. The assumption that atheism is the default position and free from any burden of proof is not convincing. As I mentioned earlier in the previous episode, both atheists and theists make claim about reality, and both must support their claims with evidence and reason. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and enjoy content such as this, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel and share it around. God bless you.